Hello, BookTube. Just checking to make sure that all of the bobs and bits are right and that this looks to be working. I've had to check my sound levels and my microphone and my outgoing audio and all of that, and also positioning, but we seem to be fine. So I thought I would open with my throat clearing, especially since I made no BookTube videos today. None at all. I read all morning long, and all morning long, whenever I surfaced a little from like a greenback ocean turtle, whenever I surfaced a little and said, well, okay, here's the rest of the world. Frida doesn't need me. She's fine. I would say, okay, but I do need to make videos. And then I would submerge back into reading and come up who knows how long later and say the same thing until finally it was encroaching on the time of day that I need to be writing. And that was it. So I realized at that moment that I would not be making videos. So I turbocharged the writing to make a little room for a Stevestream, for a brief Stevestream. I turbocharged the writing in order to make that possible. Uh, so here we are. And I have a throat clearing. I have a subject, and that is the Fermi paradox. Uh, the so-called from Enrico Fermi, uh, uh, who was the subject of a biography that I reviewed once 10 years ago. A fascinating man. And in a conference at Los Alamos in 1950, Fermi was remembered by friends of his who were there to ask, where is everybody? Where are all the aliens? There should be lots of them. There should be ample evidence everywhere that this is an inhabited universe. That evidence should be plentiful. And then years and years, more than a decade later, Carl Sagan made that into a more formalized thing that he then into the Fermi paradox, which he then broke down into the Drake equation on his TV show Cosmos to try and calculate the incalculable, to try and put numbers and variables on the likelihood of intelligent technological life developing, which cannot be even it cannot even be started to be calculated. We have a set of literally only one, which means you can't know what's important and what's not. You can't know what's likely to repeat and what's not. There's no way to do it. If you had only the number one, then you would have no idea how ever to extrapolate the number two. Not if you didn't know already, you would have no idea what to do. If you only had a set of one. Instead, the Fermi paradox and the Drake equation have been based on a combination of wishful thinking and numerical avalanche. We now know how big the universe is. It's gigantic, and it has hundreds of billions of star systems, just like ours. So people looked at those numbers and thought, well, all right, if that's the case, then there's just no chance that intelligent technological life developed only once in all of those worlds, in all of those star systems. But that doesn't really do Fermi's original question justice. The universe is 14 billion years old. And humanity, Homo sapiens, is 250,000 years old. 250,000 years ago, Homo sapiens sapiens was one of a dozen hominid species, all of whom they killed. And Homo sapiens sapiens at that period of lonely eminence lived for a long, long time as an agrarian species, hunter-gatherer species, maybe brick and wattle houses, few encampments, things like that, for a long, long time. But of those 250,000 years, the last, I don't know, 500 years have shown an asymptotic increase in technological sophistication. So for 249,995 of those years, humans were living in villages. They were hunting with spears. They were vulnerable to the environment. They could only shape their world a tiny bit with fire and maybe a little agriculture. But now, in the last 500 years, humans are a technological species. We can send not just electromagnetic signals out into the void, out into the universe, but also mechanical probes that are now in interstellar space, still broadcasting signals. And we have also done things on this planet. We have been broadcasting on radio and other bandwaves for a long time, 150 years. We've been making noise in our little area for years. And we have been reaching out into the rest of the universe. Now, the universe is vast. That outreach has been tiny. But still, we have been doing that. We have, and this has only been in the last 200 years that anything like modern technology has even existed. And so again, we don't have any other set. We don't have any other numbers in the set, no other examples to compare. We don't know, in other words, if it takes that long, on average, for an intelligent species to develop sophisticated technology. It took us 490,999,000 years. It took us the gigantic proportion of our time as a separate species to develop any of that. But we have no way to know if that's an average. You can't average one thing. We have no idea if another species might develop that same technology much faster. We also don't know if they wouldn't develop it at all. These are the kind of variables that went into the so-called Drake equation, which is not really an equation. It's really just a thought experiment. But the point that I wanted to make is, let's say that you do need 250,000 years. In order for that kind of technological life to develop. Well, the Earth is only 4 billion years old, something like that, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit older than that, maybe a little bit younger than that. But the universe is 14 billion years old, which means that kind of weight, 250,000 years to get to interstellar technology, would have happened 60,000 times. 60,000 waiting periods like that. Easily that. More, probably. And again, we don't have an average. We have no idea if maybe a species that was less genetically damaged, less homicidal, might not develop technology much faster. We don't know. We killed all the candidates who might have been able to do that. In order to, and that's another thing. Those are other elements that feed into the so-called Drake equation. Those are other elements that may inform the Fermi paradox. Because what does it take to develop that technology? What does it take to develop technology that would make you visible to a star system 80 parsecs away? Well, you've got to develop a few things that we know of, unless some wild variations exist. But if the way that we can tell, you have to develop a few things. You, first of all, need life to be able to develop, which means you need a planet that has a strong electromagnetic field. Otherwise, your planet is going to be swept by lethal radiation that will break down cells. And you might say, well, what if it's a water world? Well, but no, in order to make technology of any kind that we can understand, you need fire. So that rules out aquatic civilizations. And it also rules out, as a number of science popularizers on YouTube have pointed out, it also rules out pretty much every kind of species that we know of. They're all afraid of fire. They're not going to harness it. They're not going to use it. In addition to which, as I mentioned just yesterday in response to whether or not sentience has been an evolutionary advantage for humans, developing a brain that can do that is enormously costly in terms of evolution. Humans are helpless. Human infants are helpless for years. That's a huge burden on the tribe, so to speak. And it's also incredibly dangerous for the mother. It's incredibly draining and physically perilous to develop and birth a child with a cranium that big, especially if your birth canal has not evolved to suit. Leads to mothers dying in childbirth, which doesn't typically happen in other species. And even when you survive, you've still got years and years and years of waiting and training for that brain to do anything. And what if you're a species that does that, but you're developing that brain in a body that doesn't have any of the other things necessary? You also need hands. You need some sort of manipulative digits in order to build technology. You also need fire. So you look around on Earth, we have a wide variety of species. We are at our poorest species diversity ever, but we still have a wide variety of species. Look around at Earth. I myself think that elephants have as much sentience, as much introspective ability as humans do, but they don't have digits. They don't have anything that they could build technology with, and they are terrified of fire. Dolphins don't have hands, live in a water world. They might have all the biggest brains in the world. The biggest brains in the world live in the ocean, but they're never going to build technology. They're never going to make anything with it that is capable of being noticed elsewhere in the universe. I would, and let's leave out our fellow primates. I believe that they are all as genetically damaged as we are, except maybe the very oldest of them, maybe orangutans. But when you start stripping away alternatives like that, you basically end up with humans and raccoons. And raccoons aren't big enough. They aren't developing their forebrain in anything like the kind of huge leap forward that humans had. Who knows what caused that? Who knows why it continued? It's pretty countersensical evolutionarily speaking, but it continued anyway. It was a weird thing to specialize in, is what I'm saying. You need a slightly bigger portions of the brain to facilitate group communication, which is absolutely crucial to humans becoming the dominant species on this world. Absolutely crucial is that humans can communicate complex plans verbally. I would say that two things were crucial to humans becoming the dominant species on this planet. One was that developing language centers so that they can talk out what they want to do, which means suddenly that one human becomes 20 humans because they can all act in concert. And the other thing was dogs. The other thing was just the raw ability to survive. Humans don't have any armor. They don't have nails or claws or fangs. They don't have any muscles. They don't have speed. Take it from me, they don't have any physical senses. They're completely helpless. Even with the ability to communicate, birds have the ability to communicate. Bees have the ability to communicate in extreme complex detail. They don't dominate the world. No, humans also needed to live. They needed to secure game and reproduce and dominate and hunt. And for that, you need the cooperation of another species, a species that has all the things you lack. And humans, even proto-humans, developed that kind of a bond with dogs who knows how long ago. Trust me when I say the oldest estimate that you have seen in any kind of science documentary or in a textbook is not old enough. Not at all. And one of the main functions those proto dogs had in their unprecedented collaboration with humans was that although humans evolved to run long distances in the boiling hot sun of Africa without stopping, which no other animal can do, dogs also evolved to do that. Your dog, you might not be able to tell it from the warping of, the current breeds. But if you look at just a normal village dog, you will see an animal that is basically all legs and all lung. And dogs can do that. And unlike humans, if a human wounds a bison and it runs off, well, it's immediately going to outrun humans. Humans are great at long distance, relatively medium speed running, but they're not good at dashing. So a wounded bison is going to run away from you right away, but probably right into the arms of a waiting pride of lions or a waiting group of hyena. And if your dogs are following that wounded buffalo and they are defending it until you get there with your weapons and your communication, well, then you're guaranteed the hunt. You're guaranteed that meal. And so are they. I think those two things worked to make this species dominant on the planet. But you can see right away that if I'm right about either one of those, especially the language part, the rest of it need not have come along. We need not have ever been able to develop the iPhone. We need not have ever been. Language could have been really complex for all the purposes that we needed it to dominate our sphere without ever going any more. That was a huge leap. That, again, we can't say that it wasn't foreseeable in evolutionary terms because we don't know. We have only one thing. You can't average out one thing. But you can certainly look at it on like a drawing board space and say that it wasn't necessary at all to develop the forebrain that we have in order to get to where we are. So, if you draw that out, you see that it wouldn't have been necessary for any other species either. Even if they had everything else, even if they had all the other variables. Do you have an electromagnetic field so that you could develop as a life form at all? Do you have liquid water on the surface of your world, something that we think is necessary for life? Do you have freedom from random catastrophe? You're 4.5 light years from the next star. Does it go supernova and sweep your entire solar system with lethal radiation that no electromagnetic field can shield? Maybe that happens. That happens a lot. Maybe it happened to your world. But even if it didn't, are you crazy enough to harness fire, even though it can kill you? Are you adept enough and with enough imagination in your forebrain to imagine what would happen if you put various pieces together in a technological assembly? According to the generous estimates of people like Carl Sagan, the universe, even at our dawdle of a pace on Earth, is old enough for that to have happened on millions of planets 65,000 times. Cut that number in half if you want. Talk about the early heat stages of the universe when maybe no life could do that. Okay, that's still 30,000 times on this one world, much less all the other worlds. And yet, there's nothing anywhere. When you look at those numbers, a technological species that evolved, the universe is 14 billion years old. Let's be generous and say that a technological species evolved 4 billion years ago. Let's say it evolved when the universe was 10 billion years old. Still a long time. Stars were certainly settled by then. All kinds of accretion had already happened by then. Background radiation had already settled down by then. Let's say a technological species developed on one world 4 billion years ago. That's enough time for them to colonize the whole of their area of the universe. And also for them to rise, prosper, decline, and die off. It's not just that we should be seeing other aliens. We should be seeing archaeological evidence of alien civilizations that are long gone, like 10 billion years gone. We're not seeing any of that. Not at all. None of it. Nothing like that. Not just in terms of literally being able to see craft of some kind or other, but also in terms of the aforementioned signals. The universe is silent. It pings and beeps and pings and beeps with the metronymic regularity of natural phenomenon. And that's all. That's all. There isn't anything that has ever been detected in any way, anywhere by anybody that isn't natural, that couldn't be natural. So the universe looks empty. More and more as time goes on and we find more and more exoplanets that seem Earth-like. We now know from those exoplanet discoveries that exoplanets themselves are not rare. Even peering through a peephole the way we're doing, we found thousands of them that apparently do have an Earth-like mixture in their atmosphere and so probably have water on the surface. And yet, you can turn every single electronic listening device in the world towards one of those exoplanets, the nearest of them, the farthest of them, and you will detect nothing. No hint. Whereas if they did that to us, they would know immediately that a technological species is inhabiting this planet. So as much as it pains an old Star Trek fan to say, it, I think, looks increasingly likely that the fluke here is us. That the fluke is a technologically advanced intelligent species with manipulative gestures, a giant forebrain, a great imagination, and terrific communication abilities, shielded by a strong electromagnetic field, capable of taming fire and building technology. It's more and more looking to me like that is an unbelievable fluke. Like that is 50 lottery winnings in a row, and that it's not at all human arrogance to say that might never have happened anywhere in the universe, and that if it did, it's incredibly rare. So maybe a technological civilization did develop on an Earth-like world 6 billion years ago. And maybe it flourished. Maybe it even flourished for 1,000,000 years. It would still be long gone. The traces would be long gone. If it was just that one and it was, you know, I don't even know, 1 billion light years away, you'd never know about it. We would never know about it. Anyway, that is my throat clearing, is that I've been thinking about the Fermi paradox. But now it's time to turn over to you. I think there are 12 people here. Let's see what's on your mind. Sean Patrick is first. Steve, I've often heard the term that a book is overwritten. Does that just mean it's too long, or is there more to it? No, it doesn't always mean that it's too long. In fact, most of the time when critics use that word, A, they're not really sure what they mean, and B, they're usually not talking about a very long book. No, it's when, to me, it's a very critic popular word. I've used it myself many times, but when I use it, I know exactly what I'm talking about. To me, it's you are reading the book and the author is at your elbow poking you. See, did you notice that? See, did you notice that? That's what the prose is like, and that drives me nuts. To me, it's a function of not length of the book, but distrust of the reader. Clarence Beeks says, I hope to be a World War I guy. Do you recommend John Rawls' trilogy on Wilhelm II? It's pricey and hard to find. Just checking in with you before I proceed. Why would you start with that? If you aren't a World War I guy yet, why would you start with that? That's the deep end of the pool. Why wouldn't you read a whole bunch of one-volume histories, for instance, a whole bunch of really good ones? Why wouldn't you start with those? What's the matter, baby? Huh? You're so good all day today. You're a good baby. Oh. I mean, Rawls' trilogy is fantastic, but I wouldn't be where I would start if you're looking to become a World War I guy. Caden Conley is here. Hi, Steve. I forgot to ask during our shirtless Skype session earlier, but is there a worthy biography of Tchaikovsky? And is Alan Walker's biography of Chopin any good? Walker's biography of Chopin is great. Yes. And it was Holden. A guy named Holden wrote a great biography of Tchaikovsky. I haven't read, I think I've read two. There was one just recently that wasn't good, but Holden's book was great. Hegasander says, do you think it possible that there is a system somewhere in the universe that has living organisms smart enough to have made a microwave oven? I do not have a microwave oven. I am not getting a microwave oven. I am more and more of the opinion that literally everything in the world can be cooked on a skillet on a stovetop. And that maybe I don't want to eat anything that can't be cooked that way. Oh God, the chat jumped already. How can that be? Let's see here. Andrew Russell says, currently reading Patrick Radden Keefe's new book, London Falling. Not quite up to Empire of Pain or Say Nothing, but still a compelling read. I thought it was really good. I thought that Say Nothing was a little overpraised, actually. So I'd put all three of them on very much the same level. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. That reading guy is here. Steve, as someone who has read more modern fiction than anyone else alive, would you say books are getting worse quality-wise? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, they are. Absolutely. They're not critiquable anymore. They are still living in the la-la land of identity politics. So they're not critiquable anymore. No one at the publishing house can critique them. And that is going to make them worse. That is going to make them worse because authors don't know anything. But you're going to write autofiction. First of all, if you're going to write so-called fiction, you're going to write autofiction. You're not going to make anything up. And the autofiction is going to be entirely about how downtrodden you are. And if any editor at your publishing house says, well, this plot doesn't make any sense and these characters are all a-holes, you'll just have them fired. You'll instantly have them fired. They will lose their job, even if they're fairly senior. So, when books are produced in circumstances like that, of course they're going to be worse. Christina Alvarez says, hi all, happy to make it to another Stevestream. There's no all, okay? There's just me. Eyes on the prize. Adam Davies says, Steve, any comment on Irene Koslet's recent book claiming Shakespeare was a black Jewish woman. I already know your thoughts. I just wanted to see the look on your face, guys. You can imagine. You can imagine what I think of that book. There is no such thing as an alternate canon. There is no alternate canon. I don't like that fact. I wish that weren't the case, but it is true. It is one of those things that the 21st century hates. It is an immovable fact. Uh, John Patrick says, Steve, I know you're a vocal critic of smoking, but do you or did you enjoy standing around a bonfire? That camaraderie is tough to beat, and there's something tribal about it. I have never enjoyed it. With other humans? No, I have never enjoyed it. I don't think, mainly because of what you start with in your comment, I don't think I have ever been invited to do that when the point of it was not that every human was smoking. It absolutely synonymous with that, and so impossible to enjoy. I was supposed to enjoy the tribal atavistic nature of the bonfire at night plus carcinogens. No, no. Plus, I can see at night a whole lot better than you can. So can my babies. So huddling around a campfire never had the allure for me. Christine Alvarez says, Steve, have you made any progress on which Mac you're going to get as your backup computer and which pet you might get? I vote another dog. A whole bunch of people vote another dog. Far more people than I was expecting. That was a genuine surprise to what was largely a playful subject. But in terms of I have never gone out and got a dog. So I don't even know how to do that. I halfway expect one of you to say, yeah, I've come across a puppy. This puppy needs a home. We've got to make this work. I can't keep it. I halfway expect that to happen. But in answer to the beginning of your question, the thing that I was thinking of was an M4 MacBook Air. And that it wouldn't be my backup computer, obviously. It would be my main computer, and I would make the M1 MacBook Air my backup computer. But at least then I would have a backup. My initial freezing on the subject is still true, which is that if this MacBook were to stop working, I have no backup. The closest I have would be the iPad and its Magic Keyboard, which is pretty good, but it lacks a lot of functionality. Caden Conley is back. Also, did you enjoy Tracy Doherty's biography of Larry McMurtry? I'm looking forward to his biography of Cormac McCarthy that you mentioned the other day. No, I didn't like it at all, and Cormac McCarthy won't be good either. Shouldn't be looking forward to it. Shouldn't be reading it. Your reading time is precious. You're old. Gertrude says, my chat is showing 28 people here before Steve has even joined. I'm seeing 13. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. That reading guy is back. No booktube videos today. Shame. Yeah, I noticed. I didn't make any booktube videos today. So I won't be keeping up with your total. Other person I've driven off the platform. Ethan says, hey. Cozy says, do you like Mason and Dixon by Pynchon? I do very much. It's my favorite Pynchon. That reading guy is back. You could do an Irish Stew video live in studio. I don't think so. That would lead to a whole lot of unstructured ranting. Talon Tanky says, hi, Steve. Based on your recommendation, I read The Diary of Helen Garner and was hooked. What are some other works that you would recommend from her? I'm blanking on her famous book. It's good. The Diaries I liked a lot more than anything I've read by her, but I'm blanking on her famous thing, which I would recommend, but only good. It's only good. Ethan says, I just wanted to confirm that random people you haven't met in real life do in fact think about you. I'm one of them. Oh, I know that it's true. It's just amazing to me. It's an amazing reality. It's so surreal. It's what I tell fellow booktubers when they come here for Wine and Calzones. Right before I drive them off the platform, I tell them that when we write our autobiographies years from now, we're all going to look back on this period when we were any way that I say it is going to sound incredibly egotistical, but you know what I mean. If you scale down for size, that when we were celebrities, when we were at least well known, when we would say things and we had said enough things in previous videos so that people listened and thought about it. I think about that every time we lose a booktuber. Anyway, Street Medic. So what do you think of John Key's China? It's coming up on my TBR. It's great. Eric Gaines says, "Hi, Steve. What do you think of Margaret Yourcenar and specifically her novel, The Abyss? I don't like anything by her at all except the Memoirs of Hadrian, rather predictably." That reading guy says, "I assume while your tribe was hunting with spears, you were out hiking with your dogs." uh, let's see here. Becca says, "Hi, Steve. What do you think the late George Carlin would make of the mess we're in today? Your comment on Joe Rogan last Sunday made me think of Carlin for some reason, whose voice and style I respect." He saw it coming, right? People that look at the Trump regime quote that bizarre, macabre final tour that he did, where he was on stage with a bunch of tombstones, and it wasn't comedy. What he was doing in that set was not comedy. He wasn't. He was just giving a sociological lecture about how it's one big club and you ain't in it. There's nothing funny about that routine at all. You can watch the whole thing from beginning to end. None of it's funny. It's not meant to be funny. It's just he would be outraged, and I'm pretty sure he would be arrested. Manny says, "Are you a fan of the book I Who Have Never Known Men? I keep hearing it praised from so many different people." I wouldn't say a fan. No. California says, "Yay, I missed you, Steve." Well, I didn't make any videos today. Just this. Sean Patrick says, "Steve, I never knew the death of King Arthur existed until I saw the Penguin Classic. I now know how much it influenced Le Morte d'Arthur. If I read one, I should definitely read the other." You don't need to read The Death of Arthur. Le Morte d'Arthur is a masterpiece. You don't need to read both. If your reading time is precious, you don't need to read both. Obviously, if you needed to read The Death of Arthur, then it would have appeared on my Arthurian starter kit, wouldn't it now? Must read more. I loved your video today. 5 random recommendations. I thought that was so good. Years ago, I came very close to having a breakdown just because I got obsessed with trying to understand the math behind the speed of light and intergalactic travel. Yeah, but it's mind-boggling. But 14 billion years. That takes away the boggle quite a bit. That makes it seem like a walk in the park. And yet, nobody. Morgan says, "What range of the Simpsons seasons is worth watching?" All of them are. Okay? I'm not one of these dumb hipsters online saying that the Simpsons hasn't been good in 20 years. They're all good. They're all hilarious. All of them are worth watching. Albert says, "Did Tarzan of the April happen?" Well, no, it would have been a lonely incel event for one. Long Box says, "Hi, Steve. What is your take on the biggest question of them all? Why is there something rather than nothing in existence? It may be beyond even your abilities, oh Lord Tentacle, but it's worth a try." It's a dumb question. It's a podcast bro question. It implies that there is an answer to why. So it's basically theological. And theology is nonsense. All of it is nonsense. There is something instead of nothing. Why? It's a nonsense question. It's a podcast bro question. It's like saying, why is blue? That reading guy says, maybe it's a Horton Hears a Who situation where our universe is a speck of dust in a larger set of universes. We know that's not true. Maybe our universe is just a flea in other worlds. Yeah, we know that's not true. Yeah, nice job. But we know that's not true. There's only one universe. There's no Rod Serling involved. We know that's not true. California says, "Are any of Gandhi's writings worth reading?" In my scandalous opinion, no. But you will hear different from about 1 billion people on the planet. So maybe don't take my word for it. California says, "What are some of Hemingway's contemporaries that you prefer over Hemingway?" Well, he was married to one of them. But of course, also famously, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Let's see here. Medieval Priest says, "Hi, Steve. What do you think of Daniel Dennett and his works?" The works are needlessly chin-stroking. He had a chin-stroking way of talking when he was in front of any kind of an audience. It evaporated completely when he was at a family cookout. But when he was in front of any kind of audience, he had a chin-stroking way of talking that I guess is permissible. As you know, if you watch my channel, I'm not a big fan of boring talk, of boring vocal mannerisms. I think they're bad habits that you must not let yourself fall into them. But he brought it over to his written work as well, which is utterly inexcusable. That reading guy is back. "You mean Tarzan of the May, wink, wink." Well, no. What would it be for May? I don't even know what our solitary incel event for May would be. Maybe I should come up with one. Since I won't be joining Horror Mayhem. I treasure the memory of the Bookish Bryants as much as anybody. I miss Scott all the time. And I've tried Horror Mayhem before, but it just doesn't work for me. Horror fiction just doesn't. I don't get along with it at all. So maybe it's time for an incel event in May. What should it be? uh, let's see here. H.P. Lovecraft says, "Oh, what a great surprise! Steve live. How are you, Steve? Any thoughts on Letters to Vera?" You're going strong out of the gate, aren't you? California says, "Are any of John Muir's writings worth reading?" Oh, yes. Could we get a nature writing starter kit? I have certainly done a nature writing starter kit. I have certainly done that. But I still kick myself. About 30 years ago, there was a beautiful uniform little blue set of hardcovers of John Muir, all of his writing at the Brattle, I think for $3 a piece, and I left it. All I was thinking about was, oh God, that'll take up so much shelf space. And maybe that was wise. Maybe if I'd done it, it would have taken up shelf space and eventually would have gone back to Zach anyway. But I would have gone over the books. I would have read them all instead. I'm sure he's all on Project Gutenberg now that I think about it. Morgan says, "Do you really think David Foster Wallace could have been a good writer if he were edited?" Absolutely. You can see it in his work. You can see it in his work. He wasn't dumb, and he had a flair. He had a certain linguistic flair, a certain rhetorical flair. Yeah, all the elements were there, definitely. Let's see here. Riffraff's Reading Renaissance is here. Another person I thought I drove off the platform. He made a video today and surprised me very happily. Except that at one point in his video today, he mentioned that there are no rules on BookTube. There's no one making any rules on BookTube when... but anyway, it must be so late. Good night, Steve. 2 a.m. in South Africa. Good Lord, you are such a night owl. When you can't afford to be. You have to work at a responsible job. Let's see here. Raymond Hawley says, "Are you an atheist or an agnostic?" There's no such thing as an agnostic. Okay. All an agnostic is an acknowledgement that the person using that word doesn't understand the definition of atheist. An atheist is a person who is not convinced there is any evidence to support the contention that there are gods. That is often misunderstood. A lot of people, your average Joe Schmo on the street, will say that an atheist is someone like me who says there are no gods. That is not true. That is not true. That is hard, so-called hard atheism. But so-called soft atheism is far, far more common and is the actual definition of the term. Someone who is not convinced that there is sufficient evidence to warrant belief in gods. And that is also agnostic. That is what agnostics mean. I don't have an opinion one way or another. If you don't have an opinion on the existence of gods one way or another, you're an atheist because you don't have an opinion on the existence of gods one way or another. Some of you will have been around on this channel long enough to remember when I got into a lot of trouble for Maybe Midrash, another BookTube event in May, when I said that not only all of my co-hosts, but everyone listening to the event is an atheist. That didn't go over well at all. No, there's no such thing as an agnostic. What is that? What is that? Well, how would you define that? Someone who's not sure. Well, if you're not sure there's a God, then you're not convinced that there are gods, and that is the definition of an atheist. That reading guy says, "Who knows where humans could be without man's best friend, cats? I'm amazed that humans survived that their association with cats." I take a little bit of consolation from the fact that a huge number of humans have been killed by cats and still get killed by cats every year. Booknick says, "I wrote a paper in college on SETI and the Fermi paradox. It was fun researching the topic." SETI is the search for extraterrestrial life, for extraterrestrial intelligence, that has found nothing at all. Not just intelligence, like, we are here, but even the rote signal of any kind of technology, nothing at all that isn't explained naturally. Morgan says, "Who is the best looking male actor alive?" Boy, oh boy. Who would I pick? I don't know who I would pick. All I'm thinking of are isn't it so indicative of being a sexy influencers that all I'm thinking of are YouTubers, YouTubers and Instagrammers. Nobody from Hollywood. Uh, Boy, I don't know. No name is coming right to mind. In previous decades, it would have. I'm going to have to pass. I don't have an immediate candidate. Monet Doyle says, hello, Steve. Hello. That reading guy is back. Who is the best looking male booktuber asking for a friend? Well, I'm sure that I'm supposed to say here David Murphy, since y'all think the sun shines out of his ass. uh, let's see here. Matt, the distressed reader, says, good evening, Steve and Frida. Hello to everyone in the chat. Yes, Frida she was pressed against me, and now she has moved over there. We'll take bets on how long that's going to last. It's going to dawn on her eventually that I'm not over there. She's going to come right back. Let's see here. Kay Napolo is here. Why can't people understand we will never be amongst the stars? Light speed and physics erase that false narrative. Are people really that gullible? Well, it's not just gullibility. It's also conditioning, right? Pop culture has been conditioning people on this for a century. And pop culture is usually the most that your average person knows about science at all. Steve Ronstein says there's a YouTube video and an elephant crying in the Moonlight Sonata played on the piano. Is that a sign of their intelligence or lack of taste? No, you can see it all the time, and not just with elephants. This planet has, I would say, probably a dozen sentient or roughly semi-sentient species. And one of the hallmarks of that is a certain kind of mental flexibility. So you can play something, an orchestral work, for an elephant that's never heard it before. They know they've never heard it before, and in a non-sentient species, that would merely be cause for alarm. Instead, they're intrigued and moved. Medieval Priest says, I know about your view of Jared Diamond. I'm guessing Yuval Noah Harari doesn't escape your wrath either. No, he doesn't. But why do you think these authors sell so much? It's not a question of how much they sell. It's a question of how much they talk on podcasts. They're very, very good at the type of affect that I have described as the podcaster affect, the grifter affect, where they're sitting back and they're finally getting around to shaping the reality of this subject by my words, right? We're going to sit here on these easy chairs on this set, and we're going to shape this reality into existence. Podcast grifter bros are really good at that sort of thing, and that's what does it. Only 1 in 100 of the people that love them buy their books. Sean Patrick says, Steve, concerning your search for a new companion, do you think Frida would give the rat treatment to a ferret? She certainly would. Yes. Must Read More says, even if they're, say, on the other side of the visible universe, we're not seeing it as it is now, but as it was millions of years ago. Right. Millions of years ago, provided they haven't done anything in the interval. The universe is 14 billion years old. If one technological civilization with the ability to build habitats on other worlds developed 4 billion years ago, that would already be a very old universe. In other words, something could have developed 10 billion years ago. That would still be a very old universe. But let's say they developed 4 billion years ago. Well, yeah, then what you're seeing in those stars would be 100 million years ago. But what about what they've done in between then and now? They would still be doing stuff if they existed. California says, just finished the Memoirs of Christopher Columbus. I enjoyed it immensely. Still trying to figure out if I enjoyed the ending. Thanks for the recommendation. It's a terrific book. That reading guy is back. It's hard to make the argument that the universe is silent when our scope of awareness is extremely limited. But is it hard? Is our scope of awareness extremely limited? How far away can our instruments detect things? And the remnants of things. A long way. It's not like we're just peeking at Mars anymore. Morgan says, do you have a favorite cellist? Well, yeah. Well, it'd be Ross Rapovich for me. Street Medic says, I can't discount the possibility we could detect signals from other civilizations, but because of the phenomenon of attenuation and the vast distances between the stars, the finite speed of light. Yeah. 14 billion years. 14 billion years. If they survive their own nuclear destruction, if they have a planet with electromagnetic radiation protecting them from the world, from the universe, if they can build machines, then we should have their Dunkin' Donuts on the moon by now. We should have had their Dunkin' Donuts on the moon 4 billion years ago. Billion years. Do you have any idea how long that is? That's anyway. Gertrude says, I believe I've heard you talk about having a relationship with John Barth before. I have never mentioned a relationship. And I wonder what he was like. I wish I'd been able to meet him. He seemed like an incredible man. He was an incredible man. Morgan says, what do you think of Zorhan Mamdani? I am very, very intrigued by what he's doing. I was astonished by, first of all, I was warmed by the event that he did with President Obama. I was almost driven to tears by that event. Normal, likable human beings. Children hate Donald Trump, and he hates them. The last time he was with them was at the Easter egg hunt on the White House lawn, and he talked to them about Joe Biden's dementia and his auto pen. They had no idea what he was talking about, and he didn't want them near him. And several of those children told their parents later that night how bad he smelled. He doesn't do anything human. He hasn't done anything human in his whole life. We have become so accustomed to this brittle, abrasive, lunatic monster that seeing Mamdani and Obama clown around with children that clearly liked them was just, it was almost heartbreaking. It was almost heartbreaking. But in addition to that, I also heard, again, a podcast bro, I heard Sam Harris calling him evil, calling him nefarious and whatnot. I think he's very interesting. California says, is Hacklett's Voyages of Discovery worth reading? Yes. MDB, that's a new name. Are the Hyperion sequels worth reading? Yes. Yes, they are. Tim's Too Many Books is here. Oh, Tim's Too Many Books is here. I think the moon is also important in Earth's story. Yes. Yes, the moon and the asteroid belt. Yeah, because you have to assume that any solar system that developed much like ours is the same way, meaning that you've got rocky solid planets on the inside and then bigger gas planets on the outside. But the rocky solid planets on the inside are in a shooting gallery of solid objects, like Earth is. And if you've got scrubber stuff that stops a lot of that from hitting you, well, that also, yeah. That's what I was saying, was that you don't haven't had in what 4 million years gigantic worldwide magma eruptions. You don't have a supernova of a nearby star. You don't have a truly cataclysmic impact. Something that shears away the atmosphere, not just kills the dinosaurs. The Earth has had all of that luck. One after another, after another, after another, after another. All of that luck. Even the human race, even Homo sapiens sapiens, thanks to a massive supervolcano eruption, almost went extinct. Anyway, Street Medic says, and the relative motion between the Earth and other places which affect signals, there is no way to tell. And we just have to accept the fact that we can't know everything. Well, we can't know everything, no, but there should still be their Dunkin' Donuts on the moon. After 14 billion years, that's a long time. And the more technological you get, the more of an ability you get to factor in a resistance to negative chance. The more you can overcome it. And that would be true if you were a technological species for 1 million years. And 1 billion years is a whole lot longer than 1 million years. It's just, I think it's a legitimate question, regardless of the distances involved. Must Read More says, even the nearest galaxy appears to us as it was 25,000 years ago, and any signal aliens could send, even at light speed, would take that long to get there. The numbers are mind-numbing. Yes, the numbers are mind-numbing. Yes. And so is the number 14 billion. 14 billion is also a mind-numbing number. If the signals from a nearby galaxy took 25,000 years to get to us, they would have been able to get to us 60 or 70,000 times. Not just once, 60 or 70,000 times. They would have been the first things we would have detected as soon as we turned radios outward. We would be old, they would be old hat. We would be incredibly familiar with them. There's none. None at all. Not from 25,000 years ago, not from 10,000 years ago, not from 50,000 years ago, not from 170,000 years ago, not from any of that. And there should be. There should be signals layered upon signals from a billion years ago. There isn't anything. uh, oh, the chat jumped. My cynicism made the chat jump. Here, let's go. Let's go hunting for who we are, and see where we are. Oh God, look at all these comments. All right, well let's keep going. Let's um uh sorry about this. I don't remember exactly where we were, so I will just keep going until I find somebody. Uh it was that reading guy, right? That we were talking to. Uh oh God, this is the equivalent of dead air. I'm very sorry about this. Uh but I could sing Broadway show tunes, I suppose. There we go. Must read war. Manny is next. After your last Stevestream, I managed to watch Superman a few times, and you were right. It's marvelous, quite cheesy, but I kind of like that about it. Yes, it was leaning into the cheese. It was saying that it was saying what I've been waiting for a Superman movie to say forever, which is that is this character. That is this character. That doesn't make him lame. That doesn't mean you have to darken his costume and film the whole thing in black and white. That is him. I, I, I just wonderful. I'm glad you liked it. Moth says, has there been any good science fiction or popular science fiction releases so far this year worth picking up? Not one. Leo Percara says, hello, Steve. Do you like the Harry Bosch novels and or TV series? I I don't think that they're really written on my wavelength. The wavelength of the books and the TV series seem very similar to me. So I imagine fans of the book series are really happy with the TV series, but the fact that they were similar bandwidths made them equally blah to me. Neither one has really done much for me. Uh, Marike says, is on the biography topic, what is a good least biography? Oh, he had a big one. He had a multi-volume one that was really, really good. Uh, God, I'm never going to remember the name. Actually, we've got the iPad right here. Let's see here. I really should have a an actual app for the Amazon book search here, so that I'm not um, approximating it every time I. No, I'm never going to. All right, never mind. I'm never going to be able to do it. It's going to take 20 minutes. I spent 20 minutes looking. There is the really good one. I don't know what it is. I'd have to tell you in an email. Morgan says, do you watch the drama? No. Must Read More says, you can always tell your least despicable neighbor a sob story about how your microwave broke and ask them to use theirs. No. No. David Hume says, hi, Steve. Do you like Nio Marsh's Inspector Allen mysteries? I do, very much so, yeah. Should I read them all in order or not? Marginal things change over the course of the series, but I don't think you need to. No. I mean, it was decades since I read them. And then just a few years ago, I read Death of an Aristocrat, which is not the first in the series, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Becca says, I just finished Mailer's Harlot's Ghost and enjoyed it. I also felt perhaps it was different from his other works. What do you think of this book? I didn't think it was all that different from his other works, and I did not much enjoy it. I'm glad you did. Street Medic says, I think the most reasonable argument is your opinion. Such life is rare is correct, but that okay, all right, never mind. I don't know. I don't know what that says. Amanda says, hi, Steve. Is there a similar level of dangerousness of big cats as there is of bears? If it's white, good night. Are rivers most dangerous? Well, it depends on what you mean, right? Cats are by nature more cautious than other kinds of megafauna, and especially bears, which tend not to be the really big ones. The really homicidal ones tend not to be cautious at all. Why would they be? But even an apex predator of a cat will usually be cautious, especially when they're attacking something roughly their own size. So The biggest danger I think you will ever likely find with lions in the wild, with cats in the wild, will be lions, because they're acting in concert. That's kind of rare. Cats don't usually do that, and that gives them ideas. Sometimes it gives them ideas. It's never happened to me. I've come face to face with a tiger in India, and it would I can't talk to these people, can't read them, but I could tell perfectly well that nothing would have made it enter the clearing. Nothing. It was just looking. That's all. And I have been in camps in Africa when an entire pride of lions walks through, booming and roaring and rumbling to each other, but they have no interest in attacking humans. Uh, so I think bears are a lot more dangerous. Uh, let's see here. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I realize you read mainly in two places, both indoors. But do you ever read in your backyard? Do you have a place in your backyard to read? Why would I read in my backyard? Why would I do that? No, I don't read outside. No. Uh, Dory Lee says, Hi, Steve. I read an article about Sir Adrian Carton de Wart and would like to read more. Do you recommend his autobiography, Happy Odyssey, or would you recommend a better biography? No idea what that is. Michael says, so there is an advanced superior race of Skrull aliens out there with a 28 light year old influencer warning. If you have the means to emigrate from Earth, do it. Caldifornia says, what is the best play written by one of Shakespeare's contemporaries? Probably The Changeling. Best is a little bit fluid here, especially since it largely depends on how they perform. But I would say probably The Changeling, if we want to stretch contemporaries just a bit. Must read more says, I know you don't like Norman Mailer much, but I have Of a Fire on the Moon and have been wondering if it's worth reading. Throw it in the garbage. Manny says, I started learning ancient Greek lately, and oh my, pretty uncomfortable and difficult, but super fun. Do you have any specific tips? Use it. The number one tip for learning any language, dead or alive, use it. Don't relegate it merely to study periods. Use it. That'll bring it faster. Although ancient Greek is brutal, so you can use it all you want. You're still going to have a real tough time with it. Tolstoy 111 says, "Hi Steve, do you like More Than Human by Theodore Sturgeon?" I do. Morgan says, "Steve, would you say you are wealthy?" No, no, I would not say that. Well, compared to 99.9% of the world, I am. Yeah, but no, I would not say that I'm wealthy. Marike says, "Why not a cat? If you get them little, you can get along with dogs. Great." I don't have any idea what a cat would want. I don't know how you people do it. I don't know how people keep pets with a language barrier, dogs included. I have no idea how people do that, where you've got this living being in your house with you, and you have no idea what it wants, no idea what it's thinking, no idea what it's feeling at all. You have to guess. I don't have to do that with dogs. I would have to do that with cats. Why would I do that? It wouldn't be fair to the cat. I guess that doesn't make sense because plenty of you have cats, but anyway. Some Okie Dude says, I like the fight from Norman Mailer. Well, there's time to correct that. That reading guy says, why don't you go to your local animal shelter and adopt their oldest dogs? That is advice you've given me. Well, my local animal shelter is pretty fascistic about adopting dogs. Pretty fascistic, pretty condescending. I almost expect them to say, this creature is called a dog. They're not as condescending as my local veterinarian, but they're pretty close. They're pretty close. When I go in to adopt a dog, especially an older dog who no one's going to adopt, and the older dog and all the other dogs are coming up to me and they're all hugging me, it's obvious that I'm not going to mistreat the dog. I don't want to be treated like a housebreaker or third-time offender who's getting ready to do hard time, something like that. And that's how they treat you when you go to apply to adopt a dog. That's how they treat you. And I've so far had no interest in that. Maybe your dog pound is different. Street Medic says, so how do I break myself of the habit of trying to explain some minutia in the Constitution to Trumpsters who I know have never read it? I'm just pissing myself off for no reason. Cold turkey. They're not interested. They're not interested in the Constitution. They're not Americans anymore. They only care what God says. So it's utterly wasted time on your part. Utterly wasted. So just stop cold turkey. Uh, Amanda says, "Is David Foster Wallace a better nonfiction writer than a fiction writer, or is he just bad all around?" He's better. His nonfiction is better, probably because he didn't care about it as much, didn't buy into the whole idea of his own genius so much, so he was amenable to more editing. Do you want to come over here? Come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Oh, she's trying to decide what to do. Who knows what she'll do? I know what she'll do eventually. Let's see here. Some Okie dude said, "I wish they got Aaron Gwynn for the McCarthy biography." Raymond says, "When you said you saw 13 on the chat, there were 140 people watching. Are you sure?" Damien says, "Did you ever visit 42nd Street in New York during its seedier grindhouse days?" I did. America says, "What are your thoughts on anthropocene?" No idea what that means. Must Read More says, "I always panic a little when I remember people are actually sitting out there watching my videos." Why would you do that? You're making videos when you don't think people are watching. Why would you panic? That isn't that the whole point of making videos, that you think people are out there watching? If that thought panics you, why would you make videos? Not that I want you to stop. I want you to keep going. Medieval Priest says, "I suppose civilization did exist billions of years ago elsewhere. What FO you think wiped them out? Self-destruction, environmental collapse? Could be anything like that." Self-destruction? Yeah. Environmental collapse, I think, would be enormously likely. It could be anything. And we're talking gigantic amounts of time here. Tolstoy 111 says, "I was looking at David Pringle's list of best post-war SF novels and saw something called The Birth of the People's Republic of Antarctica." Yeah. By John Calvin Batchelor. What the hell is it worthwhile? It's not really that worthwhile. As you can tell from the title, it's a little precious. People do like it, but I think it's a perfect, the fact that it shows up on lists like that, I think is the perfect indication of how weak the genre is nowadays. Christina says, "Who would you recommend for auto or biographies on Steinbeck, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Le Guin, and Mary Oliver?" I this is a live stream. This is a live stream. So, that is a discussion question on the final. There was a big fat biography. There's a big fat biography of Steinbeck called The Adventures of John Steinbeck, writer. I don't remember what the author's name is, but it's tremendously good. I myself like A.N. Wilson's biography of Tolstoy. Dostoevsky has that multi-volume biography that really is definitive, but it also has a one-volume abridgment. And I don't know of biographies of Le Guin or Mary Oliver. Morgan says, "What makes a famously labyrinthine writer like Pynchon good? His works are such involved reads. So what is it that makes them worth it, in your opinion?" Entirely the question of whether or not he is controlling the labyrinthine nature. If he's not, if he's just giving into it because it's fun, because his fans just want to see Pynchon do Pynchon, that's going to make a bad book. That's going to make a weak, aimless, bad book. If he's in control of it, well, that is what does it. Then it's a marvel. It's just a marvel to behold that someone could have that kind of talent. California says, "Who is the greatest Scottish author?" Is this a trick question? Am I supposed to mention anyone other than Robbie Burns? Some Okie dude says, "I've noticed that novelists aren't taken as serious as they were in the 1960s when you would see people like Gore Vidal on the news. Why do you think that is?" The main reason is that people don't read anymore. But also, who would you get? Even if people did read, who would you get to do the equivalent of the Gore Vidal thing? Who would you get to do that? Must Read More says, "I found George Carlin when I was 14 and his comedy changed my life." Some Okie dude says, "Same, love me some Carlin." California says, "After Paradise Lost, what is Milton's best work?" I would say Samson Agonistes. I know that for a long time in my life, I would have said Paradise Regained, so either one. Morgan says, "Does Brock smell?" Well, no more than the rest of you. No. He smells like a human. Sean Patrick said, "Not an ounce of fat on him, though. God help us. Just a solid block of muscle." Sean Patrick says, Steve, with dogs' incredible sense of smell, how do you think they avoid being overwhelmed in a sensory way by the deluge of scents? Does their mind weed out so-called unimportant smells? Oh yeah, all the time. They have a whole bunch of discriminatory abilities to stop from being overwhelmed. Although you can easily see what it's like when they are overwhelmed. Just take one to a pet store that has all sorts of treats at their nose level, and you will quickly see even a well-trained dog get overwhelmed. But otherwise, uh, they have a fairly strict hierarchy of what is important, what's a little less important, what's a little less important. The most important things, they will just stop. They will obey even a strict command. They will disobey even a strict command to stop. It's just overwhelming. I must examine this and respond. And then lower and lower on that scale. Some Okie dude says he was to me what Bill Hicks was to a bunch of kids in the 90s. Are we talking about George Carlin? Steve Bronstein says, many years ago, I used to think Bill Maher was going to pick up George Carlin's mantle. Stephen Newton says, I've been going for books to escape the world lately, which is why I'm reading This Island Earth and have my eye on my old H.G. Wells paperback. Yeah, I think there's a lot of escapist reading going on. Street Medic says, so I read an article on cannibalism that pointed out that eating the bone marrow could reduce the effects of malnutrition. Your thoughts? How utterly ridiculous. I don't know what this article was saying. It's my thoughts on cannibalism. Is that what you're asking? Cold 40 says, what's better, peanuts or Calvin and Hobbes? Calvin and Hobbes. J. Scott Phillips is here. There is no easy way to say this, so I'll just put it in the chat. Andrew Russell says, is responding to someone else. Amanda says, why is blue? I mean, green, I get, but Morgan says, have you seen the movie Sexy Beast? No, it's not your biopic starring Ben Kingsley. I have not. Ethan says, what do you think about the fact that if you have a far enough telescope pointed at Earth, you could see medieval times or ancient Rome? Could we feasibly do that one day? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? You mean a world, a technological world, 2,000 light years away, with devices trained on Earth, would be seeing the Earth 2,000 years ago? Is that what you're saying? Be pretty tough to do visual resolution at that kind of distance. Seamus says, which translation of the Iliad do you read each year? Thank you for your videos. Well, I changed translations, and last year I did not do any translation. I went through a dark period last year and the year before that about just not liking the idea of translations at all. So I just read the Iliad. This year I haven't. I still have a couple of months. I haven't decided. I usually in every June I usually pick a different English language translation, and I haven't decided which one I want to do this year. I admit there's a part of me that is tempted just to forego translation again, but that kind of defeats the whole purpose. In addition to the epic, I also like translations. I like them as their own kind of art. Let's see here. Constance says, we know we are not a cosmic flea. How so? Apologies for being late. Because we know what a flea is. Right? We know what a flea is. We are planets, atmospheres, individual people, technology, electronics. We know what a flea is. A flea is not any of those things. I mean, I understand you and that reading are just being poetic, but still, and that's fine. We can be poetic, but let's not say we are a flea. We are obviously not a flea. Some Okie dude says science, LOL. Jason says, I think the Jim Thompson book, The Killer Inside Me, has great dialogue. Do you agree? I agree. All of Jim Thompson is great dialogue. Alice something or other. John Carter of May. Oh my God. That's an idea. John Carter of May. I'd have to get Michael K. Vaughan's approval. That reading guy is back. There are no other universes. I should have paid more attention to Bill Nye and Science Guy videos in science class. If there are other universes, prove it. Even show me something that indicates that. I've never seen anything like that. Just extrapolation for the fun of it. Just mind games. Just fun hypotheticals. ADHD Reader says, what did you think of the Mendelssohn translation of the Iliad? I picked it up recently and seems amazing. There were parts of it I liked. Tolstoy 111 says, speaking of Hemingway, I finally got to For Whom the Bell Tolls. Did you at least like that one more than your baseline on that writer? I quite liked it. I'm glad you liked it. Didn't do much for me. Marika says, are you going to post some more BroTube takedowns? There is so much material, but maybe they're more fun to watch than to make. Well, I agree there's a whole lot of BroTube material, but the thing about BroWatch videos is when they trespass into books and reading. So not just them on their own. I agree. There are a million possibilities of just them on their own. But I like to do the ones that trespass into books. And I've noticed that they don't tend to do that as much as they once did. But I should do more BroWatch videos. Absolutely. Albert says, saw M. John Harrison has a new sci-fi book coming out and was stunned he was still alive. Have you ever seen a new book come through by an author you thought passed on? Nobody passes on; they die. But the authors that I really care about, I'm sure that I've read a book by an author and thought they were dead, where I didn't care. M. John Harrison, I care, and the authors that I care about, I tend to know when they die. Plus, I know he's alive because he routinely writes for the TLS. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I saw the Z Murders for $1 and grabbed it because I love the cover. I've never heard of J. Jefferson Farjan. Is he good? I've never heard of this, of course. Samuki Dude says, I have the no, I've never heard of J. Jefferson Farjan, and I'd be willing to bet a Dunkin' Donuts Boston cream pie that you haven't read all the novels of Jane Austen. And here you are beating the bushes for an author whose only point is that you can mention his name and be sure that the person you're talking to has never heard of him. When you haven't read all Jane Austen, I bet you haven't worked your way through War and Peace. No, I've never heard of him. And I never will hear of him. I never read him. I'll never think about him. So some Okie Dude says, I have the Fagles edition of the Odyssey. Look forward to my buddy read soon. The Fagles edition is good. Yeah. Karen says, how about Medieval May? Oh, there's got to be something like that already. I don't actually know. I should look around. We should figure out an event that we want to do for May. I feel like I owe you one because I'm not doing Horror Mayhem. And I don't know if maybe Midrash is even going to happen. ADHD Reader is responding to some Okie Dude. Street Medic says, Dennett is overrated, although his multiple drafts theory, which he expounded on in Consciousness Explained, which doesn't explain consciousness, makes a lot of sense. Some Okie Dude said, come on in. You're talking to someone else. Hegasander says, you certainly have not done a nature writing starter kit, and I will eagerly await its coming. I must have. I love nature writing. Some Okie Dude said, I dislike the majority of the New Atheists, but I haven't encountered Dennett. California says, did you ever watch the 90s Disney cartoon Gargoyles? I got through, I think, one half of one episode. I remember loving it as a kid. It was the first time I'd ever been exposed to Shakespearean references. I have a great deal of heresy to utter about 90s cartoons. Andrew Russell says, went to a fascinating talk given by Daniel Olasuga about how guns have shaped history. Never knew the Maxim machine gun had such a devastating effect on the Battle of Omdurman. ADHD, oh no, okay, you're talking to each other. Sean Patrick says, Steve, if you drop a print and paper book in the water, is it 100% game over? I've had some survive. Usually it's 100% game over, but not necessarily. That reading guy says, who do you claim credit when BookTuber takes a hiatus from making videos? Well, I don't know about hiatus. We're losing BookTubers. I'm not making a video about it, but we're losing BookTubers. People are just drifting away. I think, again, I'm being ungenerous, but I think we're losing a lot of them because they're thinking, well, I haven't gone mega viral. It's been a whole month and I haven't gone mega viral. So screw this. I'll move on to something else that I don't care about. But that's not the only reason. We're losing people that don't care about that at all. I'm not claiming all the credit. That part is just fun, but it is still true. It is still happening. Real life is claiming a whole bunch of people. Becca says, what do you think of Philip Pullman's critique of C.S. Lewis, or dare I call it attack? I think the interrelation between the two of them is really interesting. Pullman is just really interesting. Uh, I don't pick sides because I'm not overwhelmingly a fan of either one of them. California says, did you enjoy the Ray Harryhausen films, Jason and the Argonauts, Clash of the Titans? The whole time that I was watching them, at the time, in the theaters, I was thinking about a future time when the special effects would look really good. When the special effects would be on par with Disney animation in terms of the smoothness to the eye. And when I was sitting in those theaters that don't exist anymore, I was thinking, I won't live to see that day. I wonder what those films will be like. And now we are in that day. So I don't have the kind of nostalgic love for them. Amanda says, have you ever especially memorable encounters with pugs? I had an especially memorable encounter with a pug just today. It's funny you should mention that. Bean and I were crossing a field when suddenly we heard something that sounded like a clogged lawnmower. We both looked up and there was a fat pug running right towards us. He reached us. He sniffed Frida's behind for about a minute while she just stood there. Then he came over to me. We smashed our faces together so that, you know how pugs, they lick with their whole face because they've got no snout. And then he decided, well, I'm so happy in this moment that I'm going to do what I do when I'm happy, which is to flop over on my back and roll around on the grass with his tiny little piglet legs in the air. And that happened today. So that'll count. Must Read More said, if you work fast, you can put a wet book in a very low heat oven and dry it out, but it'll never be the same. Love Must Read More, love his channel. I am not in any way subscribing to anything that says putting a paper product in the microwave oven. Okay. Steve Bronstein says, what do you think of Basenjis? I love their aesthetic, and lack of vocals for barking would be nice, but I don't think one can be found without a breeder. Also, Basenji breeders seem pretentious. Basenji breeders, Basenji trainers, Basenji owners, they're all pretentious, but the dogs are wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. ADHD Reader says, cats are evil, dogs are amazing, parrots are life itself. Gotta love them. I don't know about a parrot. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a fulfilling life unless I let them out of the cage from time to time. If I let them out of the cage, that's disaster waiting to happen with a dog here, I think. Some Okie Dude says, more of a cat guy than a dog. They are less demanding. Stephen Newton, you and I literally agree on nothing. Literally nothing. That's incredible. That's just incredible. Does the sun come up in the east in your world? We literally agree on nothing. Stephen Newton says, Amazon suggested one of Tarzan books for $2, but I was not sure about picking it up since the first one made me cry in the first half and was good but not great until Jane showed up. The rest devolve into adventure stories. They will not make you cry. And they're really good. Deadless says, hi, Steve. Would you recommend reading Robert Musil's The Man Without Qualities? Yes, absolutely, I would. Emperor Penguin says, I don't like the assumptions about progress/success in evaluating that the Fermi paradox makes. Evolutionary success isn't tied to advanced technology. Why should we assume it should be common? Right. Well, that's kind of what I was saying, is that we can't average these things out. We can't say the likelihood or not, the importance of any likelihood or not, because we have one thing. We have one item in the set. Andrew says, other than writing, what is your most rewarding creative endeavor? What are you expecting to hear here? Interpretive dance? I don't do anything but write and read. I literally don't do anything but write and read. That's creative. That creativity doesn't apply to my time with Frida, but other than that, I literally do nothing else. I am I am not one of those pretentious literary people on BookTube or not who are saying that when that is not true. They're saying I literally do. Guys, fam, I read and write all day long. I don't do anything else. When their roommate or their wife or their the lover with whom they're cheating on their wife would say, well, what about the video games? You play 4 hours of video games a day at least. What about that? I'm not one of those people. I literally do nothing else. Morgan says, do you like Jacques Tati's movies, Playtime, Mon Oncle? No, I do not. Morgan says, also, were you a fan of Mr. Bean? Not particularly, no. That reading guy says, we love David Murphy. We demand his return. Imagine a channel with David Murphy and the Bean, Austrian economics, and Frida Yoga, a perfect combo. Well, David made a video, what, a year ago? Tour of his pristine, beautiful little hobbit hole, got like 20,000 views. And he is another example of what I'm talking about, where real life gets in the way. So the next time that BookTube were to see him would probably be when he visits here. J. Scott Phillips says, we had an unexpected and concerning drizzle in Anaheim this afternoon. Is there a blob worth watching? Yeah, you had a drizzle, but you're largely alone in that. You're yeah. Let's wait for it to load here. You can see right away what I just went through on this. The country is almost empty, but look at that thing. Look at that. Enough moisture to sink the Titanic. That is now well off the eastern seacoast, but that was my world for 10 days. And now you can barely see it. If you zoom in, you get this little thing here. A little sliver there that is making its way. There's no way that will miss Boston. So there is a little bit of drizzle and rain coming here in a few days. Maybe a little tomorrow, something like that. But it's not big, and I don't really believe this bigger thing that you can see materializing there by the Great Lakes. I don't believe that is going to do anything. But you, over the other side of the country, over in Sin City, you've got stuff to the north, but nothing at all, barely anything. Little bits of precip here and there, and the rest of the country is suspiciously quiet. This system right here, these two blobs, a little one, a slightly bigger one, are headed for New England. I don't know what will come of them. Judging from the feel of the air today, I don't think it's going to rain tomorrow at all. But we will see. Let's see here. Tolstoy 111 is responding to Siva Bronstein. ADHD Reader says, what is your favorite alien conspiracy? They're all so dumb. They're all just, I like my conspiracy theories to have a little teeth in them, and they're all so dumb. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I've never read anything by Jim Thompson, but came across a bunch of his books cheap and got them. Then I saw a blurb from Stephen King saying Thompson was his favorite crime writer. Egads, well, Stephen King is allowed to be a reader, right? Just because he doesn't know how to write doesn't mean he doesn't know how to read. But it doesn't matter what Stephen King says. It matters what I say. Jim Thompson is great. He is well worth your time. Some Okie Dude says, Jim Thompson is good. The killer inside me still holds up. Now, Jim Thompson isn't, again, even when we agree, we disagree. Jim Thompson is great. The killer inside me is great, but so are a lot of other things that he wrote. Street Medic says, so I got the current issue of Playboy. Playboy is still published? To check out the format changes, and while I think it's an improvement, it's not much different than the lifestyle magazines. Playboy is still published? How is that possible? How is that possible after #MeToo? Must Read More says, you're telling me I shouldn't wear a lot of tweed in my videos and act like I have loads of secret wisdom. I'm holding back from the uninitiated normies. Now, your videos are a wonderful haven from any of that kind of crap. Just that throaty accent of yours is just so calming. Andrew Russell says, always thought Jared Diamond shoehorned theories into what he wanted them to be with no verifiable evidence, or very little verifiable evidence. Yeah. Ethan says, what if we're simply the first civilization? There had to be a first. A first? Well, yeah, a first, yes, but 14 billion years? It certainly looks like we are, but that is staggeringly long to wait for all the dice to come up 6. Morgan says, what would you study at University of for curiosity purposes rather than employment purposes if you went back. Japanese. Amanda says, "Hi, Steve. Are flies the only animal where the puppy is less cute than the adult?" I don't have any idea what that means. ADHD reader is talking to somebody else. Hugo says, "I read The Once Future King on your recommendation and loved it. I found it so sad but wise." Oh my God, yes. And it gets sadder as it goes along. Oh, it gets sadder as it goes along. And yet, it's spellbinding. You don't want to stop. Colombian Thunder says, "Are you kidding me? Did I miss an Artemis 2 discussion?" No, you did not. Raymond says, "Do you have a favorite painter?" Probably John Singer Sargent. Some Okie Dude says, "Oh, for sure, I'm Steve's nemesis at this point." That reading guy says, "Steve, it sounds like you really want aliens, just like you really want Bigfoot." Well, of course I do. Of course I want the idea of it. Yes, I don't even want to leave my solar system for it. I think about Enceladus. I think about some moons of Saturn and Jupiter that have thick enough crusts so that if they have liquid oceans underneath those crusts, those oceans would be largely protected from radiation. And thanks to the fact that they are moons of Jupiter or Saturn, these gigantic gas giants, they're largely free of catastrophic impacts, but still can have impacts, including from extraterrestrial objects that might have microbes on them. Of course, I want to think that there's some kind of life living in those oceans, those lightless oceans. Uh, of course, I want to believe. Uh, Michael Lombardo says, "Are you a fan of Adrian Tchaikovsky's stories? Any other modern science fiction writers you rate as worth reading?" I wouldn't say that I'm a fan. I like Adrian Tchaikovsky's stories. They are not bad. Yay. Let's let loose the confetti. He's not bad. Albert says, "Is there an album / collection of those Baroque Venetian court composers that you would recommend?" I don't know albums anymore. Don't have any music stores in Boston. So I wouldn't even know what was out there to look for. I don't have any instrument to play them on either. I just use YouTube. That's all. Some Okie Dude says, "I know he likes China Mieville." I do, but that means you don't. Or maybe you think he's just good and he holds up. Ethan says, "Are you really moving to Japan or did I misunderstand? I thought I was moving to Japan with Young Denson from Robin Song Reeves, but he shacked up with somebody else instead." These booktube boys, they'll break your heart. Some Okie Dude says, "Speaking of, are you looking forward to the Rouse, Steve?" No idea what that means. ADHD says, "Fastest pre-order I made in a while." No idea what that's referring to. Morgan says, "I believe Zoran is the most genuine human in politics this century. He seems absurdly down to earth." Actually, he is absurdly down to earth. He really inspires immediate trust, doesn't he? He does seem to have that aura, definitely. To the point where he was even willing to activate Donald Trump's not entirely latent homosexuality during their one in-person meeting. He does seem to have that quality. Yeah. Steve Bronstein says, "Do you think Obama's presidency was largely ineffectual, or that or is that argument overblown?" No, it wasn't largely ineffectual. I've seen all sorts of arguments. I don't think people are ready to assess Obama at all. I don't think people are ready to even begin to assess the sheer seismic explosion of a black man being elected in a racist country. I, I I've read every serious Obama book that's been written. I haven't read anything that doesn't feel like a child's finger painting of what could be done. Which is, it's extra ironic because it would be great if an American wrote that book, but no American is going to write that book because in a decade, high school and college American history textbooks are going to need to be vetted by the government, by the Trump government, and they are going to say that Obama was never president, so he's not going to be there at all. They're not going to be studying him at all. It'll have to happen in other countries. Some Okie Dude says the last American politician that was worth a damn was Barry Goldwater. Colda 40 says, "What is your favorite work by Martha Gellhorn?" Quite a few. Her and Rebecca West and These writers that don't, they got overshadowed by the men. Uh, don't tell Britta I said that. She's already close enough on the subject. Whenever I fall into any kind of a reading rut, she's always right there to say, just read women. Anyway, Dylan says, "Hey Steve, glad to catch a live stream. Just bought a large collection of signed Reynolds Price and thought of you as I loaded them in my car." Really? Must read more. Says, "I know you went to Studio 54, but did you ever go to CBGB? I don't think so, but it all blurs." Street Medic says, "Distance does affect what we can see. We have extremely powerful telescopes, but they are not capable of resolving necessary to see the Apollo landing sites. Chandra was able to, but it was close." Well, I don't know what this is in reference to, but yeah, if for instance that earlier comment that somebody made, that if could a planet watching Earth 2,000 light years away see, the aqueducts of ancient Rome, I don't think that is possible. Dylan McMahon says, is responding to somebody else. Oh no, and then Dylan made the chat jump. So let's see, how are we doing for time? Oh, 10 past the hour won't get us anywhere, will it? We were on Dylan McMahon. When the chat jumped, of course, it jumps for no reason at all. It jumps just to annoy. It jumps because it is expecting me to read only the super chats. So I just have to waste your time while I go and find where we were. Incredibly annoying, but we got to do it. I don't want to miss anybody. So we'll just keep going until we get there. It's Dylan McMahon that we're looking for. God, there are a lot of people here. Okay, well, sorry, we're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep going because the chat jumped. So here, let's do this by the thousands and see. There's the Jared Diamond comment. Got to triangulate here, and for all I know, the chat will jump again. Okay, let's there we go. Reynolds Price. Okay. The next person was Scotty. Intelligent life in the Epsilon Eridani system is only now receiving a bleak and barren Steve Donahue video. Highly illogical. Morgan says, "Are you able to name any known actors you have talked to at length? Did any one of them surprise you as not being a barnyard animal?" The one that surprised me with not being a barnyard animal was Richard Burton. More so than any others. There were I won't say a handful, but there were others, but he seemed to be an actual person. Let's see here. Colombian Thunder says, "The fact that we as individuals are here is nothing short of a miracle. The universe is so mind-bogglingly beautiful." Some Okie dude says, "As Planetary put it, the world's a strange place. Let's keep it that way." Morgan says, "Have you seen that polite young YouTuber called Report of the Week? Review Bra, who reviews fast food in vintage old-timey suits?" Don't know that person at all. Drunzo is here. "Good evening, Steve. Is James Anthony Froude's biography of Thomas Carlyle worth reading? Everything that Froude wrote is worth reading. I recall there being some sort of controversy regarding Froude's handling of Carlyle's papers." Well, you have to know the controversy, but the book is still wonderfully intelligent on Carlyle. ADHD Reader says, "I mean, the sheer miracle of life of Earth required such a long timeline that if aliens exist, they're probably long, long, long dead." But we don't know that the miracle of Earth type life requires anything. We don't know what it requires because we only know one example. So, if we only had one human infant, we wouldn't have any idea how long it would take to become an adolescent. So we don't know. We don't know that. Anyway, Street Medic says, "It takes a lot of power to overcome signal degradation, and that type of power isn't necessary for communication between stars that are relatively close, so you can't expect them on a galactic scale." Some Okie dude says, "There has to be life somewhere else, probably not like us, but it exists somewhere. Hopefully it does." Life, yes. My throat clearing at the beginning was intelligent technological life, not just life. I'd be willing to bet there's life elsewhere in this solar system, but because life seems pretty tenacious. and we know that its basic building blocks are on uh, objects that crash into Earth, rocks that crash into Earth. So I think those compounds are probably widespread enough so that, yeah, life, yes, but intelligent technological life seems not to exist anywhere else except here. Uh, Andrew says, how do we know signals from extraterrestrials weren't sent either before we were here or in our early evolution, i.e., without us having the chance to know what the heck was going on? Well, we don't know that. California says, I'm really interested in the early colonial history of Virginia. Could you recommend any history/memoirs about the Jamestown colony? I can, certainly, by email. ADHD Reader says, based on the size of the universe alone, it has to be somewhere, even if it's out of reach. Does it, though? Does it? Does it really? I mean, think about the most uncanny. Think about those people, bless their hearts, those nerds, who make those Rube Goldberg devices, and you can watch them on YouTube, where they have a little ball and they set the ball going and they've set the whole course up so that it knocks dominoes over, and they set a wheel turning that has a piece of string that drops a little wedge that spins around and knocks something else, sets another ball rolling, and it can go on for sometimes half an hour. If you looked at one of, they're amazing to watch. If you looked at one of those things, would you say, well, considering how vast the universe is, that had to have happened somewhere else naturally? I don't know. It seems to me to be an incredible long shot. Matthew says, or Matt the Distressed Reader says, have you heard of the smiley face killers theory? I think there's a book on the subject. There are a number of books on the subject. I've done a whole Stevestream on the subject of the smiley face killers. Yes, indeed. The best book on the subject has a very boring title, all about water deaths. Not sensationalistic at all, but right to the heart. The heart of the smiley face killers is, does the forensic line up? And it does not. It absolutely does not. There are a number of victims that certainly did not die where they were found. If there were even one where you could say that, you would have a major thing. You would have a major thing that you have stumbled across. But there are multiple victims where they certainly could not have died where they were found. And so the main book on the subject is all about water deaths. It's really, really good. Some Okie Dude says, hopefully it's not an eldritch Lovecraftian abomination. Street Medic says, but there's no way to know, so anything comment I could make is just speculation, no matter how well grounded in physics. Let's see here. Morgan says, are you not afraid of snakes at all? I can't even imagine a life where they do not fundamentally disintegrate my metal. Well, I don't like them, but a large part of my lack of fear of them is that they can't hurt me. Not severely. I'm really, really good with cytotoxins. They can ruin my week, but not other than more than that. So, but I don't like them at all. No. Must Read More says, I haven't thought this much about intergalactic space in years. It thrills me, but it also overwhelming. And the reason I don't read much science fiction now, well, just think, those people, those aliens out there, they're watching your videos. Street Medic says it's getting warmer, so it won't be long before it's time to jump out of the perfectly good airplane. Must Read More says, my dad had huge pythons and boas when I was very young, and because of that, I've never had a fear of snakes. Do non-venomous things like boas and pythons, do they bite? Or are they just totally mellow? Raymond says, I know you read new releases in a wide number of fields, but how deep do you go into academic/university presses? Well, I don't go all the way to the back of the catalog, so to speak. If Princeton sends me a catalog, their catalog is set up. It will have the big commercial releases at the front. It will have a section for the new paperbacks. I check those for blurbs. And way in the back, it will have the academic releases, the things that are basically publish or perish. It's basically academics writing for other academics. I almost never want any of those. I almost never read any of those. They're unreadable. But I will read pretty deep other than that into the catalog. Let's see here. Tolstoy 111 says, speaking of wild animals, a primatologist was saying she gets outraged by the use of chimps in movies as cute because she knows they can never be reintroduced to other chimps. Yeah, the ones that are used in movie sets can't ever go back into the wild, and they're still mighty dangerous. Siva says, this 50 consecutive lottery winning fluke of ours has a decent chance of ruin due to the whims of cheating, lying, slurring, racist, rapist, fluoride from Queens. It's uncanny. Yeah, you never can tell what the thing is going to be. But unless Donald Trump, I mean, the reporting that came out just in the last day is that he was actually stopped from accessing the nuclear codes. But that, unless that continues, unless it's physically restricted from him, he will do it, which will cause a full-scale exchange. It won't start that way. It'll start with one little thing, but that will grow until finally everyone is releasing everything. Let's see here. Morgan says, how aware are you that these bare bones candid laptops actually on lap live streams are the most entertaining thing on YouTube? Is that sarcasm, right? I don't know how I'm supposed to read that. I certainly am having lots of fun, but I don't believe these are entertaining. No, I'm always amazed by you people's willingness to put up with me. Rasmus says, Steve, why don't you like Victor Hugo? He seems awful hammy to me. I want to like him, but he seems awful hammy to me. ADHD reader says he must hate the French. Steve, what of Zola? Oh my God, yes. Yes, I don't like him either. I don't like my author to strike a pose like that. I don't like them to do that. Medieval Priest says, if tomorrow someone presented really strong but not airtight evidence of microbial life on Mars, would your instinct be skepticism first or excitement? Believe it or not, I know you can probably see it coming. The first thing I would assess with that information, with that really strong but not airtight evidence, is whether or not it had come anywhere near anything connected with the Trump regime. If it didn't, it was from a Chinese rover or something like that, and it was translated from a Chinese news source, well, then I don't think it's impossible. I think there was, once upon a time, not just microbial, but terrestrial life on Mars. And I think Mars had a gradual death. I think that it took a long time, relatively speaking, probably 60, 70, maybe even 100,000 years, for the surface of Mars to become uninhabitable everywhere. Well, that's time enough for life to migrate underground to aquifers, to caverns. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. California says, I apologize if I've asked this before. You recommended a book about the Second Amendment and how it has been interpreted throughout history. I think I probably recommended a few books like that. I'm not sure I know which book you're thinking of. Nate says, why are so many people convinced that there is intelligent life on other planets when we haven't even found intelligent life on Earth? Manny says, what was so brutal about ancient Greek for you? So far, it seems like Russian and Latin, but with grammar even more difficult than in Latin and vocabulary even more difficult than in Russian. Well, I don't know how far along you are. I don't think there's any workable comparison between ancient Greek and Latin. Matt says, with Pynchon, Mason-Dixon is a masterpiece. I agree completely. I love it. I love it. It's everything. It's all the snotty rebelliousness of Gravity's Rainbow, but without a lot of the distracting, stupid, rebellious carnality. I mean, I know I'm supposed to love the rebellious carnality. I know I'm supposed to love the ultimate fate of Pig Bodine, but, and I do, but there's something very look at me, Ma, about that, and that's gone from Mason and Dixon. The humor in Mason and Dixon is more mature. I think it lands better because of that. Also, it learned a lot from Tom Wolfe, and Pynchon hadn't read Tom Wolfe when he wrote Gravity's Rainbow. Let's see here. Some Okie dude says, oh no, wait. Street Medic says the great filter is one possibility. Well, there are a number of great filters. Yeah. That they are, aside from, if it's not what I'm saying, just so staggeringly rare that it's ridiculous even to expect it to happen twice. If it's not that, then it almost certainly has to be some kind of great filter that all species destroy themselves, or that very advanced species are out there secretly killing species as they get more advanced, or whatnot, whatever, the gray goo theory or whatever it is. It's either that or it's what I'm saying. Some Okie dude says Mason and Dixon is the Pynchon I'm most looking forward to. You're going to hate it because I love it. Michael Lombardo says, are we suggesting May incel reading events? All the mentions of his name. It's time for Norman Mailer. May. I would not. I do not like Norman Mailer. I don't want people to read him. Medieval Priest says, Steve, I've given a few Homer translations in verse a chance, and Fagels matches anyway my wavelength best. Are you also in my camp? Well, no, but I agree. His translation is really, really good. So Morgan says, do you believe that the male physique is more beautiful when adorned with a tasteful amount of muscle? Yes. Yes, maybe even a slightly more than tasteful amount of muscle. Street Medic says, but I still think distance, the speed of light, and the signal degradation cannot be overcome unless they built a transmitter that could power a starship and aimed it right at us. Again, 14 billion years. What you are talking about is how well we can overcome signal degradation this year. You're not even talking about this century or this millennium or this 10 millenniums or this 1,000 millenniums. You're not even talking about that. You're talking about signal degradation this year. 14 billion years is what I'm talking about. Those things stop being problems if you are working on them for even 1,000,000 years, much less 1,000,000,000 years. Anyway, Cozy says, do you like Tony Tulathimute? I've never known how to pronounce his name, and I think he is extremely overrated. He's a Jack Edwards author, very much so. Morgan says, it's so often said the female body is inherently more beautiful and flattering than the males. Do you agree with this? You crazy? That's where cooties come from. I find it to be ridiculous opinion, especially if you see any sculptures. Well, okay, but let's keep in mind the sculptures are by men. But I'm a little bit biased on the subject. I'm a little bit biased on the subject. I do not see any equivalence. Michael says, are you a reader of modern Harlequin romances like the ones lines like the inspirational paperbacks? I am. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on my Harlequin category romances. I usually go to the Harlequin website. Sarah at Reading Category Romance proposed this plan like 2 years ago on her channel. Go to Harlequin. You can see the forthcoming romances, note them, and then buy them on Amazon or wherever, rather than buy them on the one time I tried to buy them from Harlequin, of course I wanted to give Harlequin the business. The process was cumbersome and ended up with the wrong books. And I haven't done that yet. I haven't gone and looked at the latest ones yet. I especially wanted to read all the historicals since they're ending that line. Hegasander says, which translation in any language do you like best of the Iliad? Best of all, probably the Robert Fitzgerald or Chapman. Medieval Priest says, your description about those dog shelter people being condescending perfectly aligns with the experience I had. I know what their motivation is. They've been burned a lot of times. I used to volunteer at a shelter. I know what that's like. It is incredibly heartbreaking for someone to adopt a dog and then get the dog's hopes up and then bring them back 2 days later, back to hell 2 days later. If you were a shelter, if you were the employees at a shelter, you would become embittered towards that, and you would become extremely doctrinaire in making sure of vetting people to the best of your ability. I understand that part. I don't think there's any reason that's a sufficient reason to abandon your instincts. If I walk into an animal shelter, I would think that it would be immediately and incontestably obvious that there should be no paperwork, there should be no home visit, there should be no anything like that, no references to calls to previous veterinarians, but it should be, okay, no, you can adopt a dog right now. You pick one, you pay, and you can leave. And not just me. I think that there's no reason to abandon that kind of instinct. We all have it. And a lot of dog shelters that I know of in the American, especially the American West, the Deep West, still operate that way, but not in the Northeast that I've seen. Street Medic says, so Playboy is offering $100,000 in a modeling contest, and I don't want to enter if you're considering it because the competition would be too much to overcome. Well, Playboy wouldn't be offering a modeling contest for me or you, right? They'd be offering women. Does Playgirl exist too? I can't believe these magazines still exist. They're so nakedly exploitative. I would think they would have been shut down a long time ago. I guess they've always been nakedly exploitative, though. Michael says, "What movie screener, if any, have you been watching on repeat this year?" Nothing on obsessive repeat, as I have done in previous years. The closest thing has been Supergirl, and that's not obsessive. I just really like it. I really hope that the neck-bearded bigots, the stupid homophobes and misogynists, don't tank the audience response. I really hope that people don't listen to them. It's a wonderful movie. It's everything they want. It's everything they've said for 10 years they want in a superhero movie. And yet, but that hasn't been obsessive. There hasn't been anything obsessive at all. Even Thrash. I watched Thrash once. Once. A killer shark movie. But it was so boring. Let's see here. Manny says, I feel like in everything I read, I get chided and bullied into learning ancient Greek. And what really pushed me over the edge was when I started reading 7 Pillars of Wisdom last week. Well, don't feel guilted into doing it. Street Medic says, the best thing about Dennett was his beard. At least he looked like a philosopher. Under the Sun says, Steve, you're not doing Horror Mayhem. Surprising, since Stephen King is your favorite author. No, I've tried Horror Mayhem. At first, it seemed odd to me to do a BookTube event that is posthumous. I mean, we all lost Scott. It felt wrong. It felt weird. Not wrong, but weird to do a BookTube event that was created by someone who's not alive to see it. And then I started doing it again because Michael K. Vaughan, bless him, is continuing with Horror Mayhem. He loved the Bryants. And it just didn't work. It just doesn't work at all for me. I just don't like the horror genre. So I will. Some Okie Dude says, I've been at it for almost 4 years, still stuck at 700 something subscribers. Yeah, it's all just a crapshoot. Medieval Priest says, can horrible people be great artists in your view? Of course they can. Yes. I was reading about the lecherous and very hypocritical life of Victor Hugo, and this question came to mind. Oh, yes, absolutely. Who doesn't love looking at a Caravaggio painting? Take one small look at his life. ADHD Reader says, Steve, I don't know what's the biggest heresy, your take on 90s cartoons, 90s cartoons take on Shakespeare. I know. Some Okie Dude says, oh, wait, you're answering someone else. That reading guy says, do you like the NYRB books? Sometimes. Sometimes I do. I'm a little annoyed with their audience since they are known for publishing minor classics when 90% of their audience has never read Jane Austen. I think their idea is there are enough reprint houses out there publishing Jane Austen. And I like that. I applaud that. They are right. So the fact that they're chasing after these things, I know what you mean. It feeds into the book cocktail launch party where everyone is acting under the impression that they've all read everything when they haven't read anything, and they're looking for the next thrill. God, I knew that world so well 20 years ago, so I know what you mean, but I appreciate what they do. Talon says, hi Steve, do you recommend the novels of Leonardo Sciascia? Don't know them well enough to recommend them. Street Medic says, I just realized I haven't heard have you read questions, so I'll grasp the nettle and ask if you. Well, no, we don't want to have you read questions. It's not like we're missing it. We don't want that to happen. You're right; it hasn't happened. Morgan says, "Does horror inspire a natural revulsion within you, like it does with me, almost regardless of what the horror is?" No, not revulsion. No, if I would read it if it did that, that would mean that it was working on me. It just doesn't work on me at all. So it just sits there on the page. So. Let's see here. Some Lucky Dude is absolving me. Street Medic says, I like horror, but then again, I like jumping out of airplanes for no logical reason. Raymond says, have you ever read Malcolm Guite? Particularly his Arthurian epic. Thoughts on him and his work? No thoughts on him. Some Lucky Dude says, I'm sure there's lots of stuff that we agree on. We don't even agree on that. ADHD Reader says, I'm really curious about Malcolm Guite book. The art is fantastic. Hearing Steve say fam. Well, do you blame me? Look at all these stupid streamers that say fam all the time. When if you approach them on the street, they'd shoot you, or they'd have the bodyguard shoot you. Some fam. Cozy says, do you think anything has pulled boys and men away from reading more than video games? They are extremely captivating. I think it's video games. Nothing more than that. No, there might be other things, but nothing more than that. Colombian Thunder says, "Have you seen a screener for the new Masters of the Universe movie?" I have it. I have it. I haven't even bothered to look at it. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also skeptical. The trailer didn't look so bad. No, the trailer. I've seen the trailer. The trailer doesn't look bad. It's preposterous to have a 5-pack a day tobacco addict just bulk up on cheap gray market North Korean steroids in order to look the part of He-Man. But that you're going to get that in any Hollywood movie. It's just ridiculous. That part is just ridiculous. That this guy is playing He-Man. It's just absurd. It's not as absurd. I mean, Hollywood, when they were casting a small screen, a TV, Barry Allen, the Flash, a character who runs, that's what he does, is run. They picked the biggest tobacco addict in the TV hiring world, Grant Gustin. And then when it came time for them to cast a Flash for the big screen, they picked the biggest tobacco addict in Hollywood, in the actual big screen casting world, Ezra Miller. These people can't climb a short flight of stairs at once, much less run. They haven't been able to run. If either one of them tried, they would die. 10 packs a day in Ezra Miller's case. That he literally never stops. But the trailer does look good. I just haven't had any interest in watching the screener. Some Okie dude said, "I would comment on video games, but I don't want to establish any more that Steve and I constantly at odds." Oh, I know. Stephen Newton says, "The channel Folding Ideas did a great video on Mr. Beast that you might like if you haven't seen it yet. Don't recognize it." Let's see here. Tolstoy 111 says, "Do you like Earth Abides by George Stewart?" I do. Yeah. Morgan says, "Do you know Hoyt Axton, musician? If so, do you like his work?" That name sounds familiar. Street Medic says, "When you're from Louisiana with hurricane and tornadoes, you don't notice drizzle, although a quarter an inch of ice shuts down the entire state." Some Okie dude says, "I've only read The Killer Inside Me. What Jim Thompson book should I read next?" The Grifters? You start with The Grifters. Colombian Thunder says, "Has anyone ever sent you cutscenes of games they think you would have enjoyed?" Somebody did send me that. A friend of mine works in Hollywood, and she has a friend who's a game developer, and he was working on this was years and years ago, was some sort of DC Comics thing, an elaborate storyline where Superman turns evil, and they had they have a kind of, it's not really a screener, but they have a kind of a compilation of cutscenes, and I think I watched probably 2 seconds of it, and then I just stopped. So I wasn't any use to them. California says, "I am currently reading the Norton edition of the Church Committee report per your recommendation. I'm enjoying it, but it's also incredibly depressing." It's incredibly depressing. It really worked on me. I enjoyed it. I thought, what an amazing thing this is. But boy, oh boy, does it get you by the end to realize. Anyway, Michael Lombardo says, "Okay, here it is. John le Carré, May." Nah, it doesn't really work though, does it? Doesn't feel incelly enough. Street Medic says, "What's the dullest book you've read lately?" It was that. Do I have it here? It was that I just recently got. I don't think I have it here. I just recently got a murder mystery set on the Brittany coast, and it was like a sledgehammer to the head. It was utterly lifeless. I don't remember the name of it though. Cozy says, "What do you think of the Meriwether Lewis death conspiracies?" I think they're very interesting. They are in here to a certain extent. Not a lot of an extent, and that's good. I don't have any theories, if that's what you mean. Street Medic says, "Alphonse Mucha is my favorite painter, although School of Athens is my favorite painting." Some Okie Dude says, "Oh no, China Mieville is great." Manny says, "I got to say, after having read about 500 to 800 of Trollope's Prime Minister, I can't say I fully love it. There's just nothing to get excited about or cheer for in this story. Ferdinand is unbearable." Well, okay. You have to get into the spirit of the parliamentary novels. By the time you get to the Prime Minister, Trollope is writing about Parliament. This isn't true in the earlier parliamentary novels, but by the time you get to this one, it is the Plantagenet Palliser show. It's not meant to be, what was your word? Excited about or cheer for. It's not meant to be either one of those things. I mean, yes, Ferdinand Lopez is unbearable, and he is, you're wondering what he's going to do. He's unbearable, but he is fascinating. You can't really stop reading about him. But that is all very low stakes drama. It isn't supposed to have the kind of Eustace Diamonds kick to it. Anyway, some Okie Dude says The Rouse is Maevel's new novel. Cozy says, I like Rembrandt and John Everett Millais. All the most popular paintings are the best ones. Colombian Thunder says, oh, good. What did you think about the Artemis 2 mission? I was so incredibly proud of all 4 astronauts and the entire team. The capsule splashdown was incredible to watch. I agree. It was all amazing. Some Okie Dude says, I must go now. I have a video to record. Take care. Oh, the chat jumped. But that's okay because I have to go as well. I was at Some Okie Dude, but there's no way I'm going to get to all these comments. There's just no way. Let's see where we were. There we go. Jimbo says, hey, Steve, have you had much success heating your frozen food up in a skillet? Yes, I've had total success. Yeah. Total success with everything, not just the things I was talking about, with everything. One of you sent me an email and said, you really should not stress about this. Anything in the world can be cooked on a skillet on a stovetop. And I thought, well, I got plenty of food here. And I got the place next door if I don't have plenty of food here. So why don't I act under that? Why don't I just take that? I know how to work things on a skillet on a stovetop. So I tried it. And of course it works. That simple comment was completely true. Anything can be cooked on a skillet on a stovetop. Street Medic says, I finally got the #1 crown and I'm trying to maintain my dominance. Now that I know what Muhammad Ali. Oh, right. This YouTube gives people numbers. Colombian Thunder says, Isabel Wilkerson's cast is a great encapsulation of how much Obama's election broke the U.S. brain. Depressing book. Morgan says, are you physically affectionate chap by nature? Very much so. Very much. It's an odd question, but very much so. Keep in mind who I was raised and socialized by. I was raised and socialized by a species with no concept at all of privacy. They don't even know what that means. Yeah, I am an extremely physically affectionate chap. I have to carefully gauge when I meet friends out and about, or when I have guests over here at Hyde Cottage. I have to carefully gauge how much of that they want, how much they're comfortable with. Because we live in such an incredibly charged world that if I've got somebody, I want somebody to walk me through something on the laptop, and they sit next to me on the couch, I know perfectly well I want to put my arm around them, pull them in close, wedge up against them. Nothing licentious at all involved there, and I have to carefully gauge that sort of thing to make sure I don't overstep the mark. Morgan says, now new proposal for your autobiography titled 10 Past the Hour. Manny says, so what happened with 3i Atlas then? Oh, it seems to have left the solar system. We don't know what it was. Street Medic says, went to see Project Hail Mary. Good premise, although 2 formulaic parts and way too long. Yeah. JJ says, is there a definitive biography of John Keats? Just finished the Hyperion Cantos by Simmons and absolutely loved it. Bates's book on Keats is great. Andrew Motion's book on Keats is also great. Tolstoy 111 says, have you noticed the sad decline of the Codex Cantina channel? They have not done a book in around 3 years. I didn't notice that, no. So they don't make videos anymore? I don't think I've noticed them in a while. Matt, the Distressed Reader, says, I watched a documentary on YouTube on the smiley face killers and it was chilling. There seems to be an underground network of killers doing this. Really bizarre and creepy. Right. The problem with the smiley face killers as a theory is that it is the thing that does the most damage to it are the 3 guys that are its primary proponents. Because they're finding these things where they're obviously not. And that muddies the waters. Very much so. That muddies the waters. I think there's definitely something there. But the guys you're going to see doing the podcast and doing the interviews think that the thing that they propose cannot possibly be true. And they are misreading the evidence on purpose. You look into the details. It's a much smaller fraction of these people died under mysterious circumstances, and a much smaller fraction of these people died with a smiley face graffiti anywhere nearby, or where anyone could have predicted that their body would come out of the water. Right? You can't predict that. So the fact that there's a smiley face nearby when their body comes out of the water and you can't predict that means it doesn't mean anything. I think that obscures what is a nub of something real, which is what I said, that a number of these young men could not possibly have died where their bodies were found. So what? And I'm not talking about drift. I'm talking about that they weren't in the water. So where were they? What is going on here? Something is definitely going on here, at least was. Cozy says, do you think the rise of true crime has a prurient element to it? Very much so, yeah. I find it disturbing when people's main source of entertainment is hearing about the grisly murders of real people. You and me both. I am actually involved in a research project about the grisly murders of other people. So, yeah, there is definitely that element to it. And there are all sorts of pop psychologists who've come out to say, if you're calming yourself down and putting yourself to sleep by playing YouTube documentaries of serial killers, there's something seriously wrong with you. You should seek psychiatric help. A street medic says, yeah, we have a lot of reptiles like tegus and pythons, and the tortoise, all rescues, by the way, except for the tortoise. They all bite. We had a tarantula too, but it escaped. Must Read More says the boas seem pretty mellow, but the python was very ill-tempered, 11 feet long, and once bit a guy's hand in front of me and would not let go. Yeah, see, Manny says, I haven't read Norman Mailer, but I love Vidal's essay on him. Stephen Newton says, does it really matter if there is life out there, given that all the space can kill us, so we can never meet them? I would still like to know. It matters to me. Morgan says, you always say you do literally nothing but read, write, and take care of Frida, but you also watch TV and films. Shouldn't they be mentioned, given your strong opinions? Well, the context earlier was, do I do anything creative? Sitting there like a bump on a pickle and watching TV is not the same thing as creative. Karen says, horror mayhem, do you really need a book? Just read the news. I know. The street medic says, when I was still working paramedic, I responded to a guy who found a snake in his bed. Turned out to be his roommate's python. So I caught it and gave him a lecture on how to keep them properly. Mr. Waldo made the chat jump. Well, we can't keep going, though. I enjoyed all the Marvels and was intrigued by the idea of reading all the Marvels of DC. There are massive reading orders online. What do you think about the book and such projects? I like the book a little, and I have actually done the project. I've read a huge percentage, probably 90%, just in the course of reading comics. Cozy says, why do people smoke? Don't they know it's bad for you? Are they stupid? They're addicts. They know it's bad for you. They're not stupid. They can't stop. They are addicts, and they do their addictions the same reason every other addict everywhere in the world does their addiction. They will say all sorts of reasons, but they only have one. There's only one reason. They can't stop. They would stop if they could. Gertrude says, thanks for the stream tonight, Steve. In the spirit of your channel, I wish I knew how to quit you. Street Medic says, I also ran on a guy who thought he would catch rattlesnakes to sell the venom. He got bit and almost lost his arm. Stupidity is job security for paramedics. Cozy says, Pac-Man, now that was a video game. Nick says, hey, Steve, you've mentioned that you used to be into photography. Any favorite photographers? Thanks. Not a one. Thomas says, am in league with Gertrude. So many thanks for read of Trollop. Are we at Telegraph? Are you at the Telegraph station? I am reading the first Palliser chapters. B4, that's the letter B and the number 4. Listening to your insights, does he have an Irish equivalent? No, he doesn't. Street Medic says, I would assume you were raised in a Skinner box. No. Manny says, I'm not necessarily saying that the Prime Minister has to be like the Eustace Diamonds. For instance, love Phineas novels. I enjoyed the parliamentary stuff, but it's pretty slow going. It's a totally different register. I agree. I love it. Absolutely love it. I think Trollope is more present in that slower going register than he is when he's giving you, Phineas on trial for murder or whatnot. Tolstoy 111 says Codex Cantina do videos, but it's only short stories, poems, or comic books. No novels for years. No, I didn't know that. I should look them up. Thomas says it is interesting to you that Victoria's like S. Butler railed against machinery and their eventual takeover of our lives. Butler warned the public to destroy machines and not ingest. Okay. Patelster says, hello, Steve. I'm a practicing perfumer and was wondering if you read any books on perfume or aroma chemicals. And also, what is your personal view on perfumes? Well, I can actually smell them, which you can't. So my personal view on them is fairly dim. They're horrifying if you can smell below their surface. And I can. So I don't personally have a strong view on them. But the best thing I've ever read about them, I don't know if it's findable anymore. Once upon a time, for 10 years, I was the managing editor of an online literary journal called Open Letters Monthly. That the successor to which, Open Letters Review, I am an editor for now. Open Letters Monthly came out. We had a new issue every month. And for a long time, we had a writer, Elisa Gabbard, who is now, as far as I know, the poetry columnist for the New York Times, Gabbert. She did a series of pieces for us. It wasn't every month, but there was enough to make a book. She did a series of pieces for us analyzing various vintage perfumes. And it was fascinating. She made that subject so fascinating. I don't know if those pieces are available anymore. I don't know if you can find them anywhere online. But if you can, those are well worth your time to read, especially if you're in the business. Street Medic says, I knew another paramedic who what happened? Who was also a bookworm, who wrote a story about a paramedic who was a serial killer. It was good, but he never published it. Peyton says, do you believe Trump getting shot was staged? No. I don't believe the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania was staged. Obviously, people were hurt. Someone was killed. But Trump didn't get shot. That was a lie. He didn't get shot. I think he nicked himself with his own watch. I'm not saying he didn't come close to getting shot, but he didn't get shot. No bullet came anywhere near him. No bullet touched him. Obviously, he is not wounded. He is so dumb and such a prolific liar that he has made no bones about showing that here. He might have cut himself, but he was not shot. No, so it's a dual part question. The event was not staged, but he was not shot. Manny says, and yes, I am definitely intrigued by Ferdi Lopez and the novel in general. I have 300 pages left to read, so maybe the parliamentary stuff gets better because Glenn's charm alone is not enough for me. Well, Lady Glenn's charm was enough for me, but also Trollope and by extension Plantagenet Palliser are true believers at a time very much like our own, where the idea of anyone being a true believer in the state of politics was laughable. And by the end of the book, you're not laughing anymore at Plantagenet Palliser. You're not a true believer, but you're not laughing at him anymore. And it's even stronger in The Duke's Children, which at least has a forlorn love plot. Street Medic says, I'll take pinball over video games. Too bad the rest of society doesn't agree. And Under the Sun says, what do you think of Piranesi? Are you talking about the artist or the novel by Susanna Clarke? Although I love them both, so I guess it doesn't matter. But we are out of comments, and that's good because I'm kind of out of time. So I'm going to wrap. That's nice and neat. I'm going to wrap this up. This was absolutely wonderful fun, though. Thank you all very much for being here, obviously. But I'm going to wrap this up. I felt a little guilty not making videos, so I thought you needed a Stevestream to get you through. But we will do this again soon. So I don't know when, maybe tomorrow night. But anyway, 2 hours, that's plenty. That 2 hours is as much time as you would have got for videos today. So there you go. A nice even exchange. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you all very much.